Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. We're honored to have Mayor Bass here at Galpin Ford. Galpin has been family owned and operated since 1946, serving Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley. My wife and I just had a wonderful conversation with the mayor. We really appreciate her leadership and all she's doing for our wonderful city, and we look forward to working together to do whatever we can to make this city better for all of our residents. So with that, it's my honor to introduce our wonderful Mayor Bass.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bo. It really is an honor to be here with you today. To me, this is one of Los Angeles's iconic businesses, an incredible business that provides jobs for over 1,000 people. As Bo mentioned, has been in our community for decades. And in addition to their business, their civic involvement has been a part of the historic role that Galpin Motors and Bo's family has played for many years. So today we had a meeting upstairs of the Valley Advisory Council, a group of local businesses and community organizations that have been assisting my administration to make sure that the Valley is strongly represented. So, of course, we talked about yesterday's State of the City, the budget, the trip I'll be making tomorrow to Sacramento, the issues that we're facing. And then we were also joined by the Executive Director of the Office of Major Events. Everybody knows Paul Krikorian, who also has represented this area for many, many years in the City Council and in the State Assembly, talking about all that is on our horizon, all of the events coming up. We also spoke about this Saturday, where we will launch Shine LA, which is the opportunity to really focus on everybody around the city getting involved in getting our city ready to welcome the world. The role that Galpin will play, I know, will be a major role, as Galpin has always played with their civic involvement, but the representatives of the Valley Advisory Council as well. How do we make sure that the Valley plays a big role? And then when we're thinking of the Valley, one thing that will be different in 2028 that didn't happen in 1984 is that there will be venues for the Olympics right here in the Valley. And so how we prepare and take advantage of all of that. So let me introduce Paul Krikorian, Executive Director of the Office of Major Events.
Well, thanks very much, Mayor. And let me just reiterate our thanks to the Bachman family and to Galpin Motors. I said earlier, this is kind of like the headquarters of the San Fernando Valley, it seems like, because every major leadership group of the Valley always, finds its way here to have its meetings. And I'm grateful to the mayor for coming out and speaking to Valley leaders about issues that are so important to us now. And it's an interesting change from the preparation for the 1984 Olympics, in which many leaders of the San Fernando Valley were actively opposed to having any Olympic events take place here in the Valley. We even had our member of Congress, Tony Bielenson, who introduced a measure in Congress to prohibit federal funds from being used to support Olympic events here in the San Fernando Valley. So fast forward 40 years, and these Valley leaders today are excited and enthusiastic about the incredible opportunities that all of these major events pose for the city of Los Angeles. And when we bring the world here in 2026 for the World Cup, when we bring the world here for the Olympic and Paralympic Games in 2028, these will create incredible opportunities for economic revitalization, for community engagement, for transportation infrastructure, for changing the ways we do development here in Los Angeles, creating economic opportunity for all. That's what the mayor is envisioning, and that's what we intend to make a reality by 28. And by the way, in these difficult budget times, it's important to remember how much advantage there will be as we build towards 28 in creating that economic opportunity, which in turn then creates tax revenues that can be spent in support of the people of Los Angeles. So I appreciate, again, the Bachmans for having us here, and it's always a pleasure here to be at Galpin Motors. Happy to take any questions about major events.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I can't help but tell that we're at a place where, it's about transportation. And so the list of layoffs and also the elimination of vacant positions, the largest number in there is for the transportation department, 406. And I'm wondering, why you felt that was, tenable in this time?
Well, let me just tell you, I really could look at the proposed layoffs in each department with that same vantage point. We do not want to see the layoffs take place. But as I mentioned yesterday, by charter, the budget was due yesterday. We are certainly hoping that over the next month and a half, we will be able to come up with solutions that will avoid the layoffs, or that the number of individuals or positions eliminated will be significantly reduced by other solutions that we might find.
Some revenue sources that you can identify?
Well, the new revenue sources that we put into the budget basically essentially lowered the deficit down from where we started. Where we started was at $1 billion. We were able to lower it to $800 million. So where we are right now, we've already accounted for new revenue sources. Now, having said that, I am hopeful that there might be some assistance from the state. We obviously couldn't present that in a budget that was due yesterday because, like I said, I am hopeful. We are waiting for the May revision of the budget. But as we all well know, the budget could be revised and saying that the state has the revenue to provide a supplemental, or the exact opposite could happen. The other thing, of course, that really introduces a lot of uncertainty into the situation is what is happening in Washington.
Mayor, can we talk about that for a moment? So the governor has said they're not sure what revenue sharing they're going to get out of Washington.
Exactly.
Likely far less than what they've gotten in the past. So I hate to be too negative on this, but this could get worse in terms of the 1,600 positions based on what money has been held out of Washington, not just for Sacramento, but for you.
It is possible that it gets worse. That is absolutely the case. But again, the budget that I released yesterday was based on where we are. Now the council will be involved in making any adjustments, but we're going to be trying to see if it is possible to get additional revenue. We also are working in partnership with our colleagues in labor because we have to look for every possible solution.
What is your message to SEIU 721? Because they said they're going to fight every position.
I understand that. My message to SEIU, as a matter of fact, we've been talking to SEIU since January as we saw the situation getting worse. And so my message is we will work in partnership and we will work to solve and close the budget deficit together.
We're going to go Jeff and then Dave.
In terms of the proposed budget, there are not cuts to sworn police officers at the LAPD. However, civilian jobs will be impacted.
That's right.
The chief this morning says that folks might have a harder time getting traffic reports or when they file for a police report, getting copies of that. What do you want to say to folks, especially here in the Valley where there are so many traffic crashes and folks need to get their reports? And then secondly, is that going to impact civilian jobs that assist detectives in solving cases as well?
Well, that's something that I have to discuss with the chief in terms of exactly what positions they will be. But we also had a choice. We certainly were not going to impact sworn officers as it is now. And you very well know we don't have enough sworn officers right now. So the only place that we had to go were the civilian positions. And obviously we'll do that very surgically to make sure that the civilians that are laid off, if we get to that, which I am certainly hopeful we will not, if we get to that, we will have to look at the ones that would have the least impact to public safety, because that is our number one priority.
Are they concerned about the solve rate? I mean, a few years
Concerned about what?
The solve rates?
No, not right now. No.
Go Dave and then Carlos.
I was wondering if you could talk about why you chose to add so many staff to the fire department, but also, given the whole remarks made by Chief Crowley back in January, is the fact that you're adding more than 200 positions a validation of her argument that cuts to positions at the fire department?
Well, let me just go ahead.
Were linked to the problems combating the Palisades fires?
Well, first of all, Dave, I'm not going to relitigate comments that were made by the former chief. The fire department was not cut. You know I disagree with that. The positions that we put in the budget yesterday are positions that we feel are vitally needed.
Can I talk about this too? With the special events coming, the World Cup and then the Olympics, these cuts, could they come at the worst time? I mean, how could these cuts affect these major events where you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world?
Well, absolutely. And the major event that you're talking about, which is the World Cup, is in July of next year. And we are certainly hopeful, but by the time we get there, that the solutions that we are dealing with the budget now, we're not dealing with from the perspective of 1 year, but 2 years. We have to take the future into consideration. We can't just view it from a 12-month perspective. And frankly, that's one of our structural problems to begin with. Right now, we're set up to only have a budget every 12 months. I also mentioned that we need to get charter reform underway because that's one of the things that we need to look at. It is very hard to govern the nation's second large city in 12-month increments. I'm sorry? Sure.
Carlos, if I can just add one point to that. Since we're reminiscing about the 1984 Olympics. At this point in preparation for the 1984 Olympics, the country was suffering the worst recession since World War II. We had 10% unemployment at that point. It was a time when everybody had grave doubts about whether or not Los Angeles would be able to host the 1984 Olympics for economic reasons. And the result was that we produced the most successful Olympics in history, so successful that to this day, 40 years later, we're still benefiting from the revenues that were derived in that Olympics. So we've been here before. We've faced difficult times before. Los Angeles rises to the occasion, and we will for these major events that are upcoming as well.
Mayor, you're going to be going to Sacramento this week. You mentioned that in your State of the City. Several other cities in California are also facing very tough budgets. San Francisco, Oakland.
That's right.
Have you gotten any indication from the governor or top legislators that there is money available to help bail out Los Angeles, particularly given the fact that the state has its own budget crunch that it's facing?
Well, first of all, we're not asking that the state bail out Los Angeles. We don't think we need a bailout. But I will tell you that the governor from day one, especially given what happened in the Palisades and in our county related to the wildfires, has been extremely supportive, and the legislative leaders have as well. So in terms of indications, what I have gotten an absolute indication of is the will, the interest, the desire to be helpful to Los Angeles. In terms of the dollars and the dollar amount, as you probably are aware, tax day was just a week ago. It's going to take the state a while before they know exactly what the revenue is, which is the point of the May revision of the budget. Because by the middle of May, we should know whether or not there will be a supplemental at all, or if there is a supplemental, how much that will be. So when I go tomorrow, it's certainly to advocate for that, but it's also to look at the issue of liabilities, because you know that is one of the main drivers of this deficit. Annually, we plan for about $100 million in lawsuits because the city is not insured. The city is self-insured. This year, it came in as triple. Now, that was because of the backup of COVID and the slowing of the courts or the closure of the courts. But we know that this is going to be a problem moving forward this year as well. And then thinking of all of the other legislation that was passed and the wildfires, it's easy to predict that liability could only grow. So there's two reasons why I'm going, which is also why I'm going at the invitation of Senator Ben Allen, and I'm going with our city attorney, Heidi Feldstein-Soto, to work on both of those issues.
Jeff, we're going to go to some people that haven't asked. Teresa, go ahead.
Hi, Mayor. The City Council is calling for an analysis of homelessness spending today. and I know that this is one of your priority of your administration. I'm just wondering if you have any response to that, or what's your take on that?
So I haven't seen exactly what the council is doing, but I certainly have no issue with looking at homelessness spending, or frankly spending in any other category.
Will your budget reflect what the city council is considering?
Again, I'm not aware of what the city council is considering. I'll look at that. But what you mentioned is that they passed a motion today, I guess, to look at homelessness spending. I would support that.
We're going to go into the
Yeah. The workers from SEIU have threatened to go to strike to this next week. So you talked to them about that, and instead of, you said yesterday about the difficult of the...
My understanding is that is focused on the county. SEIU is in budget and I imagine the other unions, they're in budget negotiation with the county. So that strike provision was not directed at the city.
Mayor, could I follow up on Carlos's question?
Hold on, Conan, we got people that haven't asked it. We'll let you there.
I saw that your budget calls for about an 80% drop in the financing of new affordable housing units. Why such a steep decline?
Well, again, I think, the housing market, period, has been in decline because of interest rates and the general economy. So we have to look for how we cut back everywhere. Obviously, we want to see housing produced citywide, considering the shortage.
If we're doing follow-up, Jeff, we'll go Conan, Jeff, and then Dave, and then we got to wrap, all right?
Very quickly, so from our understanding is Mayor Garcetti promised the International Olympic Committee 1,200 officers by the 2028 Olympics. We're right now, based on your budget, at a 1995 level. Was that a mistake on the part of the previous mayor? Could you possibly get up to 1,200 police officers by the Olympics?
Well, first of all, whether it was a mistake or not, one thing I know for sure, we need more police officers. And we actually, I believe, will make some headway there this year. The chief knows that is his number one mission. The new personnel director, who actually will be starting soon, she knows that's her number one mission. I've been looking at that all year, and we have been able to dispel the myth that Angelenos don't want to be police officers. We have the recruits. The hiring process is the issue. Do you want to add about Garcetti's?
I do. Thanks for the question, Conan. We should be clear, because I think a lot of people misunderstand this. The Los Angeles Police Department does not have primary responsibility for the security for the Olympic Games. It is a much bigger enterprise than that. Already, the Secret Service is leading the security planning for the Games. It's been declared a national special security event earlier than any other event in American history. And so the Secret Service is leading all of the public safety stakeholders, including the sheriff, the police department in Los Angeles, the fire department, Cal OES, the highway patrol, and all the others. And make no mistake, there will be officers from all over the country who will be called upon through mutual aid to be able to provide the safety and security that we need during the Games. That's always the case with every major event like this. It isn't the host city's police department that has to provide all that meet those needs. That being said, to the mayor's point, we continue to need to expand the department. We're on our way to doing that. The mayor has funded two budgets in a row with increased funding for new positions. The challenge has been getting those funded police positions filled, and now we're well on the way to getting that done as well.
Jeff, Dave, and then Jose, and then we're done.
Mayor, one of the biggest challenges that you face are broken sidewalks. In terms of the liability, this year it's about $12 million or so. Nearly $2 million of it is from trips and falls. So if you cut more than 100 jobs, like the proposal says, if we cut back these jobs, do we leave ourselves at risk of more lawsuits?
Well, first of all, we have got to repair our streets. So cutting those positions in and of itself was not going to solve. In other words, if all of those people continue to be there, and I certainly hope they will be, that's still not going to solve the issue. It's a much bigger issue than that, and we have to figure out how to deal with our infrastructure. It's actually one of the issues that I think charter reform really needs to look at, because it needs to be a long-term issue. And it's not just the liability part of it. It's the fact that in a lot of respects, our city infrastructure is crumbling, and we need to address it. Even our responsibility of property that the city owns that has fallen into disrepair. So a lot of work needs to be done. I wish it was as simple as what you described. I think it's even a much bigger issue.
I want to go back to the fire department. It looked like the expansion. It looked like the expansion in the number of staff at the fire department. A lot of it revolves around homelessness, and I was wondering if you could talk about why you sought to beef it up in that area.
Well, let me tell you that the area that I am really concerned about is even preventing the need for that. We need it right now because we have to address that issue. But as I reported in my speech yesterday, the number of fires that are directly related to homelessness cannot be disconnected from our need to get people off the street, so we can prevent that from happening to begin with. And then those firefighters or other personnel can be used for other reasons, because you do know that over 70% of the calls from the fire department are actually medically related.
Okay, so who's going to take this on? Hey, Mayor, just very briefly, how much money have you proposed for homelessness? Has it increased? Is it being maintained? Also,
What's the dollar?
Measured. How much money have you proposed for Inside Safe?
$9 million, $900 million is for homelessness overall. In terms of Inside Safe, what's the exact number? 104. Thank you.